Hey gamers, Ethan Cito here with another Total War Claim devlog update. Today, I've got some cool stuff to show you. This is the first change. Bastion claims are now in cube form. So, if we go up to this Bastion, I'm already in reinforcement mode. If we just right click with our diamond, we'll reinforce it, and you'll notice that once I start moving, it'll say that I've entered Ethan Cito territory. So basically, I've made it so that it's easier to know when you're under the influence of a bastion. So whenever you're by one that's owning the land, basically you'll get a message whenever you enter, and you'll get a message when you leave. So if we go up 30 blocks, we will see leaving Ethan Cito territory. And this makes it a lot easier to prove that the claiming shape is now a cube instead of a spear, because we can just move over here. And as y'all know, if it's a spear, the height would be different, so it would be tallest in the middle, but it would be shorter over here, so it would take me longer to come down. But you'll notice that it's kind of like the same height everywhere, basically. So now it is a cube shape with this as the center, and it moves 30 blocks in every direction from the center of this cube. So it's like a 31 by 31 by 31 cube. And I made this change because Bits suggested it, and it's a very good suggestion. Basically, with having the claims be a spear, it makes it very hard to do buildings and very hard to make sure that you have everything claimed, because spears don't fit together very well. You'd have a lot of overlap and whatnot. So to simplify things and make building towns a lot more modular, we switched to a cube format. Okay. Oh, also, you might notice that if you go to the upgrades section, there is an upgrade missing. Where did the range upgrade go? How are you supposed to get bigger claims if you can't upgrade the range of your bastion? Well, guess what? We made that modular too, with the brand new super cool range extenders that allow you to expand easier with more modular. I was going for alliteration, but I couldn't think of something else that started with an M. Let me just reinforce this real quick. Bam! Now we're in the range extender menu, which I beautifully crafted. It's even got a super cool page system so that if you fill this up with bastions, you can click next page and it'll take you to the next page. You'll notice that I've got two beacons, both named Ethan Cito. That's because I've got a bastion here and then a bastion over there that I was using for testing. Right now, the name of the bastion is determined by the group who claimed it. So because I claimed these bastions under my private group, because I just did tribe reinforce like that by itself, it claimed it to my personal user, which is why this is Ethan Cito territory. However, if I claimed one of these bastions to a tribe, such as the Nerd tribe, then it would come up as a Nerd tribe bastion. And just so you can tell your bastions apart, I made it so that it'll show off the coordinates and the lore of your bastions. So if you got multiple bastions assigned to one extender, you'll be able to know which is which. But I may have given this explanation a little bit out of order, because you're probably wondering what a range extender does. Well, basically, the way it works is it's not its own bastion. It's like, well, just an extender of your bastion. So you take it and then you place it somewhere in the world, and then you open up the menu and you hook it up to one of your bastions, and you can tell which one it's hooked up to because it'll be glowing. And then basically, whenever someone's in the range of the extender, it'll reference back to the bastion. And so any of the powers that are applied to the bastion will be sent through the extender. So the area defended by the extender will be as if the bastion was right here. The only exception is the XP storage. That only works inside of the bastion. You can't do that from here, because this is just the menu to switch which bastion is being referenced. Also, when you're in this menu, it'll let you assign the extender to any bastion that you have access to. So like if I am in the nerd tribe and I have the bastion permission, which lets me access the bastion, then I will be able to hook it up to the nerd tribe even if this extender is reinforced privately to my private person. And so that gives you a little bit of leeway, like if your allies need to borrow the power of your bastion or something, then if they have permission to access your bastion, then they can put extenders that are reinforced to their group that draw from the power of your bastion. Now, of course, they can only do this if you give them permission to access your bastion, so it's not like anybody is going to be able to start drawing. Not like the free Wi-Fi, you can't just start stealing it. Pistons. So a big problem with the whole reinforcement situation was, one, is that if you want to get in and out of places, you know, you need to have doors to get in and out. But the problem is, if somebody puts down a piston and they use it, they can just pop the door off, because when a piston pushes a door block, that... How does that even work? So anyways, what I was trying to show off is that if you put a piston next to a door, then even if the door was reinforced, you could just push the piston and it would break the door. And this would let enemies just pop your doors open and walk right on in, which, you know, defeats the whole purpose of reinforcements. Why would that be possible? However, the problem is, and they could do that with blocks too, so like if you have a wooden block, you could just push it out of the way. Why bother breaking it, right? But the problem is that pistons are a big deal in redstone. Like, what if you want to have a cool redstone door, like one of those retractable thingies? You know, if we disable pistons entirely, then you won't be able to make that cool redstone stuff. So, the way we worked it out is if a piston and the block that is being affected are in the same claims, then it will work. So this piston and this door, we can check with tribe inspect. Not tribe info, inspect. We can check that they, I guess they're not reinforced the same. This one is not reinforced, which means that it would work because it doesn't have any protections, but just to show off, we will reinforce this block. And now that we do tribe inspect, you can see that it's reinforced to Ethancito. And if we pull the lever, oh, sorry, we're in inspect mode. You gotta remember, if you're in inspect mode, you cannot do anything until you get out of it. If you pull the lever, you'll notice that the door gets popped off, and if we pull the lever again, you'll see that this little slab here is retracted by the sticky piston. So anything that you want to do that's in your claims with your own pistons will work. However, this is not, it's not like the range extenders. The plugin does not check if a group that you're in is related to another group. So they have to be literally the same group. So like if the door is reinforced by nerd, and the, actually, let me just show you right now, because I think I have the nerd tribe. Yes, I do. So if we do tribe, reinforce nerd, and we reinforce the door, oh, sorry, the, it's already reinforced. So let me break the reinforcement of the personal one, and then we'll do tribe, fortify, nerd. So now this is fortified to nerd. And if we check here, this is still fortified to Ethancito. So once we leave inspect mode, you'll see that it does not push the door off, because this is to the nerd group and this is to the Ethancito group. And even though I own both of those groups, they're not the same group, so it will not work. So let's say, I guess this is the same example. I don't know why I don't know why I did that, but whatever. Basically, if it's a different claim, then it won't work if both blocks are claimed. If one of the blocks is unclaimed, then it will work. Sorry, if the block being acted on is unclaimed, it will work. If the block is claimed and the piston is not, then it will not work. And for this final example, let me get a sticky piston just so I can show off that if this has a different claim, that you will not be able to retract blocks either. And it has this kind of cool thing where it's like pretending to drag it, but it doesn't. I like that animation. Or maybe it's a lack of an animation. Whatever. Anyway, that is the piston update. No longer able to exploit this sort of nonsense to break stuff. Now, the next issue is crops. So, one of the big things is like crops break super easily. So, no matter how high you make the reinforcement on a crop, right, you're just going to be able to break through it lightning fast because they go. However, we got a workaround for this. Basically, whenever you have a crop on farmland, if the farmland is reinforced, then when the crop above it is broken, it will actually not break, and it will not take any reinforcement off of the farmland, which means that someone cannot just spam down the protection by clicking on the crop. They have to break the farmland underneath it however many times, depending on the reinforcement, which will greatly slow down crop destruction and actually give you a reason to protect your crops. Because if someone tries to break it, as you can see, it's not breaking. None of them are breaking. And if we go back into Ethancito, we can see that all of these farmlands are still protected at 10. And then if we go back to our enemy, and let's say we grab a shovel. Gosh, they switched up everything. They put shovels and tools. I don't know why they separated the equipment, but it's whatever. So if we break this 10 times, bam, you get the crops. So for those of you who like raiding people's farms, this is what you're going to have to do now. Just have to mine out the farmland underneath the crops instead of hitting the crop itself, which should slow it down. This only works for crops that are on farmland. So crops like cacti and sugarcane will not be protected by this change. However, you can still claim them by using /TWClaim. And if you grab a if you grab this area right here, and then you do /TWClaim confirm. Oh, well, I can't do it because it's a foreign bastion. But let's just say that this area is claimed. It'll claim the air in between the two corners. And so any sugarcane or cacti put in this area will be protected. The sugarcane, it breaks about as fast as the crops, so it won't be very well protected. But cacti and pumpkins and whatnot will be protected a bit better if you put it like that. For sugarcane, it's kind of like a niche case, so only advice I can give there is to put your sugarcane farm in a building, just like put a wall around it and a ceiling, so that people won't be able to take it as easily if you care about that. Alright, so the last change is fire protection. It's retardant. Basically, there was an issue where reinforcements would not actually protect blocks from fire, and they would get eaten by fire normally if they were made out of wood. So, the adjustment that has been made is that it actually does check if the block is reinforced now, and it will remove a pre-configured amount of reinforcements every time that the block would have been destroyed by fire. So, like, you set a block on fire, the fire waits for a little while, and then it says, okay, the block should be dead. And every time the fire says that the block should be dead, then it removes an amount of reinforcement from the block. So it's kind of random, but you see right there, it just removed 5 because the fire said, okay, this block should be dead. But instead of breaking it, it is removing the reinforcement values. And then once it's at 0 reinforcement and the fire says the block should be dead, then it'll kill the block. Any second now, it will kill the block. My goodness, this is a lot. There you go, see? So now the fire is done. And basically, this allows people to use fire in raids, but it doesn't make it overpowered. I know it seems like it's happening really fast right here, but keep in mind that I'm using a reinforcement value of 10 for testing purposes, and that on the server, the values are like 500 or something. I forget, it's been a little while. But basically, the reinforcement values are higher, so it will take longer, you'll have more time to put out the fire, and maybe just don't put your most expensive things in buildings made out of wood. Alright, so that just about wraps up this latest update in the TWClaim saga. There's a couple other changes that I'm thinking about making in the future, such as allowing you to name your bastions, give them custom names, so that it's easier to keep track of them, and it'll, like, whenever you get the entering territory message, it'll just give the name of the bastion instead of the name of the group, and that might help people keep more track if, like, you've got a bunch of different bastions with different names, if you want to have different places with different names. What else? I feel like there were a couple other things, but for right now, I actually want to put this plugin on the back burner in terms of development, because most of the, not most, literally 90% at least of the functionality is here. It's basically ready for production, and that means like being used on a server full time. So I'm content with it right now, other than a few like administrative things and whatever. So I'm going to be working on the newest, the latest, the greatest plugin. It's so bleeding edge that I haven't even actually made a project for it in my code editor. So I'm literally just going to be starting this project now, but it's going to be the, I don't know what I'm going to call it. I don't think I've come up with a name for it yet, but it's the win condition. If you've been checking the announcements sometime in the past few months, you'll have noticed that I released some new documentation for the direction of the server, and in that, one of the biggest details was that Total War needs to have a win condition, because the problem with geopolitical servers like this is we don't know when to stop, and that results in the server dragging on for far too long, and the community stagnating, getting bored, rage quitting, and saying, I'm not going to play until the next reset. However, if anyone ever mentions a reset, like from a server owner perspective, if I even suggest that a reset is going to happen, it also sends the community into an immediate death spiral, where everybody says, well, if the server's going to die, then I don't want to play on it. Like, why do I want any of my work to go away? Like, I'm not going to play on a server that I know is going to die. So, the way that we can get around this problem is by having a win condition, where everybody comes into this knowing for a fact, alright, this game can end, but it's different than the way other servers have handled it, where some of the more successful servers tend to have set resets in terms of time. They're like, okay, every 3 months we are going to reset the server, put on a new map, and start from scratch. I decided it'd be a little bit more fun to have it be a player-guided experience for the most part, which is why the server is going to have its resets tied to a win condition. So basically, you play Total War. If somebody wins, then the server resets. If you don't want the server to reset, then you've got an incentive to keep playing, because you can just stop the people from winning, and then the server won't reset. Unless the community becomes stagnant, in which case I'll step in and reset it myself. But obviously, in that case, you probably aren't playing on the server anyway, so it'll be a good thing for everybody. I would love to make a long video going into all of the specifics of how this win condition is going to work, but I actually don't have every single detail worked out. I've got some documentation, like I said, in the announcements channel. If you want to take a look at that, it goes over what I've thought of so far, but the gist of it is there's going to be these artifacts that players get through completing various challenges, such as, I know there's a farming one where basically you have to get a stack of every kind of crop and then put it in a horse's inventory and then kill the horse, and then that'll spawn in the farming artifact. And the idea is that to win the game, you have to gather up all of the artifacts and then perform a ritual in order to begin the reset of the server, and it will declare you the winner if you're the one who successfully does the ritual. Now, the idea for the artifacts themselves is that each one will have a power, so that you're incentivized to be the one who brings the artifact into the world. It'll give you a boon if you're the one controlling it, and obviously because they're items, they can be stolen, and whoever takes the item will have control of its power. And there were a couple more things, like I was thinking of having the items be indestructible and unique, so there's like only one of them in the world, which would keep you know, them from multiplying all over the place, and it would keep people, most importantly, from speed running the game. Because, you know, somebody with no life could log on to the server and they could spend 48 hours getting every single artifact, which would kind of like destroy the server. And it's not fun for everybody who, you know, does things other than plays Minecraft. So the way to get around that is basically, if somebody somewhere has a version of the artifact, then that is the only version of the artifact that exists on the server, unless it is somehow destroyed. But there'll be, you know, protections against that and clauses and whatever. Like, I'll work it out in the programming. But basically, there can only be one copy of each artifact at a time, and all of the artifacts are required to begin the ritual. So even if some guy logs onto the server, no-lifes it, and he gets like half the artifacts, as long as somebody somewhere who isn't teaming with him has one of the artifacts, then he won't be able to reset the server. And so it turns into an interesting game, because obviously there are going to be people who are playing to win, right? They want the title of winner. But there's also people who are playing to not lose, where they just want the server to keep going, and basically they're like guardians of the artifacts, so they're not using them to start the ritual, but they're just playing a game of keep away from all of the power-hungry people trying to end the server. And I feel like that'll be a fun thing to play with, so that's what I'm going to be working on from now on. I've also got something else in the works. My friend showed me this modded version of Minecraft called BTA, Better Than Adventure, and basically it's set at 1.7, which is the update before the adventure update, the one where you don't have hunger and a lot of other stuff. And basically these modders are kind of like expanding. It's like an alternate version of Minecraft, where it's like, what if we took a different timeline from that point in its development? And I managed to get a self-hosted server up. I've got a better computer to run it on now, so the performance should be better, and hopefully the connection will be stable enough. So I'm going to be setting that up and making an announcement when it's ready to play, and, you know, explaining how to get the mod pack on your computer and stuff. It's pretty basic. It probably will run better actually than 1.20 on your computer, considering how basic it is. And yeah, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned. Uh, there's also a little community for like putting mods on top of that. So if this gets a lot of attention, if you guys like playing on the beta 1.7 server, then I might be thinking about putting some mods so that we can add on some stuff to that server. Anyways, thank you guys for watching all of my fun rants and my development and whatnot. As always, you guys have a wonderful day and have a lot of fun playing on Total War or doing whatever else in your life that you feel like doing. Bye-bye.